to another episode of the Building the Pride podcast. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined, as always, by my co host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I am just as handsome as ever, Drew. How about yourself?
It's going pretty well. I've got things are looking good, in my world or what have you. So we've got schools going well, jobs going well. The
Excellent.
whatever department is out putting fiber optic cable in my street, so that's awesome. They were out there until 8:30 last night. It was a really dedicated crew. So
yeah, not us this time.
nope, not you guys.
No.
So, but other than that, sports wise, things are also good. So
yeah, your Wolverines are doing okay. I understand they've won a few games.
they have won a few games. Happy that they've won them. Also, the Lions have won a game this weekend. Very happy about that.
Yeah, it's always good coming in on Victory Monday to work and talking on Victory Tuesday for the stream. So we will get to that. What's going on around? Oh, so news and notes around the NFL. There's got to be some good stuff there. What do you got for us?
Well, I have a very weird story coming out of Las Vegas. So
Las Vegas, all right.
So the Raiders have a player named Chandler Jones who used to play for the Cardinals and Patriots. And apparently he put some stuff on his Instagram or social media that concerned somebody in the organization. And I was reading an article on ESPN about this. And they sent some people to his house to check on him to see if he was okay.
Oh, wow.
And it was apparently some type of response team from the Las Vegas fire department. So the fire, according to Chandler Jones, this is what happened. The fire department knocks on his door and someone's like, "Hey man, you good?" And he was like, "Yeah, everything's totally fine," or whatever. And they were like, "Well, because Dave Ziegler, or whoever the GM of the Raiders is, called up our boss and said, 'Hey, will you go please check on my guy?'"
Like a well child check kind of thing, but
exactly like that. Exactly
wow. Okay.
like that. And if it's to be believed, the fire department did not believe Chandler Jones. Now remember, Chandler Jones is a dude, a big dude who is in wonderful shape. So 6-something, 2-something. Every time I've seen him, the dude looks like, oh, I would not want to engage physically with that man at all.
Right.
To believe Chandler Jones, he woke up in an ambulance, I believe, on his way to the hospital where they sedated him.
Wow.
And checked him out. And of course, according to Chandler Jones, he was very upset that they had abducted him from his home and sent him to the hospital. And because he was so upset, they recommended psychiatric treatment. So they transferred him to a psychiatric facility where he stayed 4 days and was forced, according to him, to take medication that made him not completely aware of what's going on with him and his surroundings. So after being in the hospital for a few days with what the team called a personal related illness, he was somehow released back into the wild, or as we call it, the public, and then proceeded to say that he was taken captive and held against his will for like 3 days or something or other until he could prove or had someone come down and take responsibility for him. And that's why he missed the game on Sunday, was that he was being restrained in a mental health facility against his will. So, how much of this to believe? If he is in fact crazy, probably not much of it. If he is crazy, he put out a statement that said that he is completely sane and that he's quote unquote so strong that he could never be broken mentally. And when I hear something like that, I'm like, this dude's probably already crazy. He's probably already nuts. Like, no one should ever say, I'm so strong that I could never be mentally broken.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's accurate. So Luke's podcast is also currently streaming, so that's why we have no one in chat. So fun.
Luke, end your podcast, buddy.
Yeah, no, we're tired of that. Stop competing against us. So
wow, I hope he gets whatever help he might need, if he needs it, depending on the truth or non-truth of the thing.
I mean, okay, so like, I don't know. Here's the thing about like society today, right? You don't know what to believe anymore. So like, his side of it is that the Raiders sent the fire department to his house. If you listen to the story, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But sometimes the ridiculous is in fact true. I don't know what to make of it. I certainly do think that professional athletes have mental health problems like the rest of people. You know, like,
yeah. Oh, for sure.
And
they're people too, right?
Right. Even sometimes it doesn't feel like that, you know. Sometimes
they feel like gods. You put them on a pedestal, and they're just,
They sometimes feel like real life Madden players, to be honest. I mean, like,
they have spouses and kids and brothers and parents and hobbies and that's crazy.
If he is to be believed, that's a crazy scenario. And like, here's my thing. If that is crazy, how could you ever play for that team again?
Right.
I would be like, go talk to my agent. We're done. I don't care what you're paying me. Get me out of here. That is insane. He says that he, while he was in treatment, he got to use like a telephone, and he called his GM like 3 or 4 times.
He wouldn't answer.
He wouldn't answer. You know, and I'm like, if I was a GM and one dude I was paying $17 million was calling me on the phone, I would take the call.
Yeah.
You know, so like, if he's not taking it, I think that makes it more believable that that's what he did. You know, like,
I don't know. And of course, no one in the organization is going to. It's a private matter. We're not going to, talk about it, kind of thing. And for just personal privacy reasons, that they probably wouldn't. So we'll never really probably know what happened there. But that's as soon as you said, I started Googling and what happened to Chandler Jones. So as you're talking, I'm kind of following along on like some of this. I'm like, that's just such an absurd story that it's probably at least 50% likely to be true. Because even the absurd stuff now is just as likely as the normal stuff that you hear.
Yeah. So I mean, like, my take on the whole situation, he went last minute darkness retreat, took a bunch of peyote, doesn't remember exactly what happened in the last 6 days. Raiders are covering for him, right?
I think you're mixing up the players. I mean, maybe he got talked into it by A-Rod. I don't know.
I mean, people talk. I mean, they all got each other's cell phone numbers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you know what else was kind of crazy other than that story?
Tell me.
What the Miami Dolphins did to the Denver Broncos. 70-20. 10 fucking touchdowns. You're like, how does this even happen?
This is my kind of game. I love watching blowouts. I love that. You know, like, to me, I watched the Lions get blown out for a lot of years, right? And my opinion always was...
Still too soon, Drew. Let's not talk about it.
That's fine. My opinion always was, hey, if we didn't want them to blow us out, we should have played better. So I don't have any... When anyone talks about running up the score, to me, that just sounds like being a sore loser, to be honest. Like, when I played high school sports, my team was bad. Our teams were just always bad, and we lost by tons of points. You know, and I was never like, oh, it's disrespectful to run up the score. No, like, my team going out there and performing poorly is what's disrespectful. You know, to us, our fans, our school, the sport itself, whatever. Like, and if an opposing team can do that to you and you can't stop them, they deserve to score.
Right.
So I have no problem.
And the thing that I find hilarious is when Sean Payton was hired to be the coach there, after they fired their previous coach after 1 year, I think. And he says something to the effect of, that was some of the worst coaching I've ever seen in my life. And then to come out and have his team get beat by 50 points. I'm just like, I wonder how that press conference is going to go.
So there's something I want to say about this game. First of all, sorry, they didn't have Jalen Waddle.
Yes. That's totally true. And I think I know where you're going to go with it. So I'll just let you go.
They also ran the ball like 40 plus times. And it was amazing. And like when you say a score like 70 points, you expect that to be, well, they threw the ball 9 out of 10 plays.
Yeah.
And that is not what they did. I mean, did they throw it? Yep. Was it remarkably successful? Yeah. But they also just beat the crap out of them on the ground. I think they got a defensive touchdown in there too. So that's always good, always fun, helps the score.
Right.
But
I think they only punted one time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Actually, I don't know if they did get a defensive touchdown. I want to say Tyreek Hill got the first one like a minute into the game, and then the next 9 touchdowns were by their starting running back or their backup running back. I think there were 5 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving touchdowns. One went to Tyreek Hill, and the other 4 went to the running backs.
Maybe they got a.
But Denver got a punt return touchdown. Denver got a special teams touchdown. That's part of their 20.
Maybe I'm misremembering it, but anyways, it was an absolute slobber knocker. And you know, if you're a Denver Broncos fan or a Denver Broncos player or coach or owner or whatever, you have to look at this thing and be like, what are we doing? I mean, you know, and even like, I know some people were like running up the scores disrespectful to the game or whatever, but like, it's not like 70-20 happens every week in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because if it was possible, teams would do it to their opponents every time they could.
Right. Because it's not a disrespect. What would be disrespectful is a team being up by 30 or 40 points and then laying off because you can't handle it. I mean, that's where disrespect comes in, right? Like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to kneel 3 times and punt it every single time just so we don't run out the score. I would be furious if I was the opponent.
And that was...
No, you run that fucking ball. Yeah. You throw it. Give us a chance.
Someone said that because, like, there was a tweet or whatever that was like, oh, what the Dolphins did was disrespectful. And, like, they knelt when they could have kicked a field goal to make it worse and to get the all-time record. You know, and someone was like, it'd be more disrespectful if they just kneeled and ran down the clock for the entire fourth quarter. Because, to be honest, I mean, it went something like 14-21, 14-21 scoring by quarter for Miami. So, like, they were completely fine to win the game by halftime. They didn't know that at the time, but, like, they were completely fine to win that game at halftime. They could have just kneeled the whole... And you think the NFL would be like, hey, Miami, real cool, bro. You're on national television. Like, please don't do that. Just keep scoring points. Like,
yeah,
the NFL had to be thrilled with this.
Oh, for sure. And see, actually, where I thought you were going to go by mentioning Jalen Waddle being out was the fact that if they lost, is there an asterisk? Like, if they didn't just beat the shit out of them in a just undeniably embarrassing fashion and they lost, is there an asterisk because they didn't have their second best player? Like, that was the narrative about us in Kansas City, right? We didn't get to pick who Kansas City played.
No.
We played against the people that they dressed that were healthy. We were missing people, and there's always, it's an asterisk. Like, no, a W is a W at the end of the season. You're going to look at the record and say, did I make the playoff with the record that I got? It doesn't matter how bad you beat them or what the circumstances were. So, like, But this just goes to show that asterisks for that kind of crap are meaningless, because Kansas City, without those guys, very easily could have won that game, right? And just like they didn't have Jalen Waddle, and they just beat the dog crap out of Denver. So you play who you got, and you play against whoever's dressed on the other side on the ball. And there are no asterisks. There are no anything. A win is a win. Now, it might be harder if Kelsey would have played and Jones would have played. But there's no – I mean, we just play who we play.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with the asterisk comment, because at some point, like, whether it's injuries or whatever it is, like, you're also correct that you have to just go out and play whoever's in front of you. But, like, the rhetoric coming from the fan base and the media was, the Lions defeat Super Bowl champion Chiefs at home. And I'm like, that's true. That's what happened, but it's not the team I saw in the Super Bowl. And you can say, oh, the draft happened. Oh, free agency. Like, it's not the same. It's never going to be the same Chiefs. Sure, that's a good point. But, like, the core of who that team is, there was one of 3 players on that team opening night, and I'm thrilled that you won by 1 point.
Right.
But wins and losses never go down.
The philosophy of that comment, right? Of like, well, you didn't play the full team, and that's true. But that I don't want people to take away. Victories are hard to come by in the NFL. So because they were missing a player or two, even though they were important players, like, don't dismiss the fact that we went out against a very good team in their home, which they have a really, really strong win record at. And half of our defensive backfield never played a game together before. So, like, that's a negative for us, just like them missing out on Kelsey or Jones is a negative for them. But we went out, we did what we needed to do, and they didn't. They dropped the ball all the time.
I'll push back on what you just said by saying, like, our secondary not gelling is not the same thing as them having 2 impact players. In my opinion.
I'm just saying that, like, we had some things going against us as well. We didn't have Jameson Williams. He was out. Our entire defensive backfield is playing together in a real game for the first time in their careers. Like, basically everybody. Like, almost everybody in that backfield was new. So, like, that could have been something that we could have used as an excuse if we lost. Like, well, Patrick Mahomes, the best football player on the planet, and our defensive backfield, it's their first game together. So yada, yada, yada. Boo-hoo. But we still got there. We overcame that challenge, even though it's not maybe as big of a challenge as having your second best player out and your best defensive player out. But, like, it's a thing that we had to overcome as well. But kind of back to this week's news and notes. What did you think about the Chiefs beating the crap out of the Bears? Are the Bears going to end up being a top 3 pick again this year? Because I thought they were going to be closer to a 7-win, 500-ish team.
I think they're the worst team. I think they're the worst team in football right now.
Did you expect that at the beginning of the season?
Well, to be honest, like, the teams that you expect to get better are the teams that are currently bad and have had a chance to address their weaknesses. So, like, what did Chicago do in the offseason? They spent the most money of any team in the NFL on free agents to address their defense, their offensive line, their skill position groups. They made a trade. They traded the number 1 pick for a bunch of assets and a number 1 wide receiver. And Justin Fields was supposed to take a step forward. And this was another offseason with the same front office, the same coaching staff, advancing the philosophy and doing what rebuilding teams are supposed to do. And it has not worked at all. It has not worked in any phase of the game for Chicago. And all they've had is controversy and drama and off the field stuff that detracts from their ability, I think, to win football games. Their DC resigned amid some very worrying allegations that we have no real definition of the actual reason that he retired. If people were week 2 in the NFL resigning to take care of their health and their family at the rate that excuse is used to save face in the NFL, there'd be a lot stronger families in America. That's all I can say. But like, you do that, clearly something happened and he was trying to save face. Don't know what it is. I've heard some allegations. Don't want to repeat them. That happened. The overall direction of the team has been questioned. Justin Fields this is his 3rd season. Now is the time where people are evaluating you to determine whether or not you're going to get a contract extension, whether you're a bust, whether you're a success, what it is. And like, he is better supported this year than he has ever been. And they're 0-3 and they got walloped by the Chiefs. So I believe at home. I don't know if it was on the road or not, but
I do not recall.
But the Vikings are also 0-3. And as the meme that you sent me the other day, Kirk Cousins is on pace for 6,000 yards, like 51 touchdowns, 9 picks, and the Vikings to be 0-17. And like typical, what was it? The Vikings had a negative point differential last year and had 13 wins.
Yeah.
So it's completely the opposite of what logic and just math would tell you, right? Like they scored fewer points than their opponents, but the difference was 4 games. They lost 4 games very badly and won the rest of them. They are currently 0-3. Here's my biggest concern. I don't want Caleb Williams to be a Chicago Bear.
Do you think they would take him? Assuming Justin Fields is not the problem, do they take him? Because they could have taken any of the guys this year.
So Caleb Williams is the best quarterback prospect since Trevor Lawrence. And I know that's like 4 years ago, but like Trevor Lawrence was lauded as the best prospect since Andrew Luck. And now we're talking, so like, I think Caleb Williams has an opportunity. I certainly think that he'll be the number 1 overall. Oh, look at you remembering. I certainly think that Caleb Williams would be the number 1 pick. I do believe that he's the type of quarterback that, like, quote unquote, you can't miss on. Now, even Andrew Luck never won a Super Bowl and retired early, that kind of stuff. So like, did he miss? Hey guys. Or hey, Dr.
D.
But like I believe currently, if there is a team that does not take Caleb Williams number 1 or trades off of the 1st overall pick this year, they're completely wrong.
Yeah,
they are completely wrong. The reasoning beyond that doesn't matter. You should take this guy. So if Arizona's got 2 cracks at the number 1 pick, you should trade Kyler Murray and take Caleb Williams. If the Chicago Bears have the number 1 overall pick, and remember, they got 2 first-round picks this year, so they got 2 chances at it too. If they take the number 1 overall pick, they should just take Caleb Williams and trade Justin Fields, and that's just the way that it is. Because 3 years will have gone by the time you're making that selection on Murray and Fields, and if you can't look at both of those guys and say, this is the quarterback that we think we're going to make playoff runs, maybe win a Super Bowl with, then you haven't found him and you need to go get him. He's just that kind of quarterback on a rookie deal is the best asset in football. And so you can't pass it up.
I totally agree. But who would move off of that?
Idiots.
Who would move off of that, right?
It's whoever, if that were to happen, my first thing would be you absolutely need to fire that GM. Doesn't matter the return. You just have to take that player.
It's like in the NHL with Connor Bedard this year.
Right. It is clear.
You don't do, there's nothing that a team could give you to move off of that pick.
Right. So let's talk about that for just a split second. if there is a team that came to you and said, well, we'll use your hockey analogy, right? Like, we will give you our first round pick for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that there is a price, but I don't think that the price that it would actually take that would be accepted to trade off of Caleb Williams. You can't look at that and say, like, okay, this is like cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? Like, you got the quarterback, right? But now you're completely unable to support him.
Yeah, for the next 5 years, like LA was.
Right. Dr. Detroit thinks the Bears are going to get it. See, that would be terrible. Like, I want them to have the number 2 overall pick. To be fair, the number 3 overall pick would probably be the one that I would want them to have, so they miss out on both Williams and Drake May, who looks like a Justin. What's the kid's name in LA?
Herbert.
Yeah, he looks like a Justin Herbert clone.
Yeah.
I don't want either or both of those dudes in the division, because remember, the Vikings are 0-3 as well. So, and
I don't think the Vikings are going to end up in a top 3 pick or a top 2 pick.
I had the same argument with somebody earlier today. Why? They lost their first 3 games. Why can't they be?
I don't think their talent level. Yeah, I just don't think their talent level is a bottom 2 team.
Sure, but I mean, and I agree with that, and yet they've lost 3 games in a row.
Well, so true.
They're proving that they can lose and have that talent.
That's fair. I think that they're also going to beat Chicago. Like, I think they've got at least one or both of them will win against each other. Like, I don't know if Minnesota goes 2-0 against Chicago and takes Minnesota out of the running because of that, or if they split. But like, somebody's got to win those games.
So it's funny that you should mention that.
Oh my god!
Because we have 4 0-3 teams in the NFL currently. They all play one another this coming week. So 2 0-3s are going to get their first win. And then there's going to be 2 teams that are just in the driver's seat through 4 weeks, because they're going to be 2 0-4s.
Yeah.
And that's you're in the driver's seat for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, with the easy games out of the way.
Right.
So,
Chargers, Minnesota, the Bears, and I believe the Panthers. Denver. Sorry, not the Panthers. Well, no, I'm sorry. Chicago is 0-3. Denver is 0-3. Minnesota is 0-3. Carolina is 0-3, but they owe their pick to Chicago.
That's crazy.
So technically, the Bears are in there twice. That's
It doubles your chances.
Yeah.
So Kathy says, happy Tuesday. I'd like you guys to talk about your thoughts about Dan Campbell as a leader in an episode soon. He seems to have a good style. Do you want to do that right now, because we may just forget on a future episode? What are your thoughts on Dan as a leader, and what he brings to the team that Matt Patricia didn't, or that Marinelli didn't, or that we have a laundry list of coaches that didn't, right? So what are your thoughts that he brings to the team? And feel free in the chat to throw out some ideas too, what you guys think about what Dan brings to the team as a leader, what his leadership style looked like to you, and why people gravitate toward him.
Luke's podcast must have ended. So
about time.
Here's the thing.
Welcome everybody from Luke's podcast.
Here's the thing I'll say about Dan Campbell. Like, I don't know the guy. All I know about him is the way that I see him coach, what he says in the media, what I saw on Hard Knocks. I think it's very clear that the people who play for him, he generates a belief in those people. They want to play for that guy. Yeah. Good. I mean, like, I don't know that it matters at what level of coaching you're talking about. I think that the number one thing that any coach needs to be is inspirational to their group of players. They need to coach. Yeah, they need to inspire, like, effort, dedication, belief, the run through the wall, mentality. Wayne Fonts.
So Dr. Detroit says, I like Dan as an emotional leader, not so much as a game manager, but I like him more than most of our coaches other than Wayne. I'm assuming it's Wayne Fonts. Wayne was a player's coach as well. His players loved him. His players would play for him. We'd get down early in the season. He'd be like, guys, my job's on the line. And they'd be like, let's go. And then they would win enough to keep it in the job for another year, right? That was kind of the roller coaster that we were on as players or as fans, and they were on as players. He's clearly an emotional guy. And I think ASICS brings up another good point about he really holds his players accountable as well. And I would expand that to not just players, but also his coaches, right? 6 games in last year, he's like, our defense is not doing what it's supposed to do. Our secondary is not. We get rid of the defensive backs coach, bring somebody else in, and overnight, things just started happening. Like we started playing better. Are they correlated? Not necessarily. Correlation does not equal causation, but I think that's that, and even like the Bugs situation where he benched Bugs. He was it was Bugs, right? That was the healthy scratch for the first 2 games, and Bugs didn't like it at first, but he's like, you know what, I'm buying in, and that Campbell talked to him about it. That it's like, hey, I see you were unhappy on social media. Like, you can make this. Like, you can be back on the field. You just have to work at it and earn it. And he essentially said that he went back on social media and said, yeah, I'm a team player. I'm going to keep going at this. So I think he does a good job of holding his players accountable and not in a way they're just going to scrub their social media and just throw their hands up and like, I want to trade. So I think those are both really good points that ASICS and Dr. D bring up as well.
So let's just leave. I think that's a good summation of Dan Campbell.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for the question, Kath. If you have other things that anybody wants us to talk about, definitely throw them out there. But let's get to the game. 20-3, or I'm 20-6. And it didn't even feel like it was as close. Like our defense, I think, played as good as I've seen them play for a full game, like domination wise, since probably 2018. The last time we had a top 20 defense. Like, it was good. We stopped Bijan Robinson.
So that's the thing that
That's
the thing that I was just, when I watched the game, I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what I thought the concern would be, because the Detroit Lions, through 2 weeks, their defensive line, outside of Aiden, had not played well. And the strength of the Atlanta Falcons is their offensive line run blocking. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't want them to
come. The thing that we're really bad at, stopping the run. Well, this isn't going to go well. I picked us to lose because of that. I'm like, I think it'll be close, but I think we're going to lose.
Right. And so that was my concern, is that this would just be a repeat of the Carolina game last year, when it was just like, we cannot, who are these just dudes, just guys with names that most of them you've never heard of, just running all over you, because they wanted it more. They were executing better. And they just did, there was a line in Hoosiers once. Gene Hackman from Hoosiers was like, I'll send the team our playbook and let them know what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. Cause it's not what you're going to do. It's how you do it, or whatever. And it's about execution. They have been better against the run, but they've invested heavily in that. So
welcome, Steve-O. It's been a while. Thanks for popping back in.
Yeah. Nice. And yet, for whatever reason, the Lions just completely stuffed it. And I was like, oh, hey, nice. I was worried about this, and they're dealing with it. And the Atlanta Falcons were a one-dimensional team anyways.
Yes.
And the Lions went in, and they took that dimension away. And then it was very clear, Desmond Ritter's not going to beat you. So you're good. And
he's got some mobility though, and that's what scared me. Like, not only can Bijan beat you, he's a super talented back, and he was second in rushing through 2 weeks. Granted, only through 2 weeks, but it's a rookie. Gibbs wasn't there, so like my fear was we would try to do that, and then Ritter would start passing a little bit, and then just being that mobile pain in the ass like Justin Fields. Not a good passer, blah, blah, blah. But the moment that you turn around, he is through the middle and into the backfield, and for a scrambling first down. And we stuffed that pretty well.
Yeah, I was really surprised with not just how well we played against the run, but the team had 7 sacks, I believe.
I think so.
And, Aiden got 2, and I was really excited that he got, let's say, the lion's share. Just kidding.
Oh my God,
that was terrible.
I thought I was the handsome one and the funny one, but I'm just the handsome one.
Right.
You are the funny one.
Thank you. But, what happened in week 3 is what did not happen in the first 2 weeks was that Aiden generated pressure and other people, no way. And other people showed up and finished it off. And like, if this defense is going to be successful, I don't think it has to be to the level that they performed against the Atlanta Falcons, but there has to be somebody else that distinguishes themselves. We wanted that to be James Houston. He's hurt. So everybody else has to get in on the action and like get to the table and get something to eat, because Hutch can't do it by himself. He's trying.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of
this week.
This is the kind. Well, he got matched up on Matt Bergeron a lot, and just absolutely took him to school. Like, I think both of his sacks came when he was lined up over a guard. I might be wrong about that, but it was very clear. Like, everybody else got in on the action this week, and like, this is what the defense can look like when you just rush 4. So I was thrilled to see that. The thing I was more thrilled about in this game was Brian fucking Branch.
He was
that kid stud. Was so there are video games I've played where you get like speed boosts and you were like all over the place like at the same time and you could just get to anywhere you needed to be. He feels like that.
Yeah.
He feels like a cheat code in a video game, because it was like, oh, you need me to slice in and tackle Bijan Robinson, the guy that's like Mr. breaks more tackles than anybody in the history of college football. Done. Hey, you need me to bust up the line and then take down Tyler Algier, who is just an absolute bowling ball of a human being and more looks like a juggernaut from the X-Men than an actual real life person. Done. Hey, you need me to cover their 6'5" wide receiver and break up a slant when they were going to go for first down. I got you, bro. The 2 best players on this defense through 3 weeks are Aiden Hutchinson and Brian Branch, and I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, there is a distinct step down. I mean, others have played well, right? But like I think Cam Sutton's played relatively well. I think Tracy Walker's played well.
I wish you had caught that pick. Yeah.
Oh my God! Right. That was the pick 6, 100%. If he doesn't drop it, right? Like he was going the other way, and there was just no one there.
Yeah, Detroit makes a good point here. McNeil showed up for this one, and like,
yeah,
he doesn't need to be Superman, but like, he needs to be disruptive, and he was disruptive this last week. And when there's anyone else doing that across from Aiden Hutchinson, this defense looks much better.
So Joey 2 times. Danny points out Sam Laporta had a breakout game.
I want to talk about Sam Laporta.
I knew you did. I wanted to make the transition with your favorite person making the comment, and I
love Danny.
That is our puppy.
I love his absolute confidence that the kid has at like 17 years old. He's just great.
Yeah.
So do you want me to talk about Sam Laporta right now, or do you want to finish?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
No.
I'm prefacing everything I'm about to say here. Okay. I like Sam Laporta. I think Sam Laporta is a good addition to this team. But I want to pump the brakes for just a second. Okay. So this is the kind of chatter that I've heard about Sam Laporta this week, because as Danny points out, he had a breakout game. Oh, Steve-O, Don Burr earlier today in the PFF chat asked me if we were going to be live tonight. And I said 7 Eastern per usual. So I would expect him to be here, but I, much like you, have not yet seen him. So there are, from this draft class, there are 3 tight ends who have played more than 100 snaps so far this season. Those guys are Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave from the Packers, and Dalton Kincaid from the Bills. And that gap is those 3 guys have played twice the number of snaps as the next closest guy. So I think that Michael Mayer and one other dude each have 79 snaps so far. So Sam Laporta has been on the field twice as much as the rest of this draft class. So let's only talk about the other 3 guys who even have snap counts closest to him, right? So that's
talking about for rookies.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to share my screen? I've got the PFF grades up.
Please do, Michael.
All right, because we have a section, Gridiron Grades. Thank you, ChatGPT, for the name. That we'll kind of go through all that.
All right.
Let me.
News to me.
I know. That's the best part.
Playing time is good.
There we go.
So,
bam. All right, we're going to take Danny's comment down so it doesn't there, and then we'll. So these are all of this is sorted by received snaps, not by grade.
Do me a favor, go to draft year and select 2023. Here we go. Okay, so Sam Laporta has 154 snaps. Musgrave has 157. Kincaid has 137. So he is getting the most work out of all of these guys, right? Now it's 7 snaps from the next closest guy. So that's nothing crazy. But these 3 guys are the starters on their teams. They're not splitting time. So they drafted him to be a starter. He's a starter. This is reflecting that. Fine with me. Sam Laporta is not bad. But my point is that like the impact that Laporta is making, in my opinion, has more to do with the amount of work and opportunity that this team is giving him than, say, a Darnell Washington, Michael Mayer, or Luke Schoonmaker from the same class. Now, I'm not saying that all these players are exactly the same, but what I am saying is if you took Brock Wright and put him in the same position and threw the ball to him as many times as they have thrown the ball to Sam Laporta, I think that Brock Wright's stats and scores and grades and all this other stuff would be much better. Because he has more
than it is, not necessarily better than Laporta. Right?
Correct. Better than it is currently for Brock Wright, not in comparison to Sam Laporta. Now, when we were going to compare these 3 guys, Musgrave, Kincaid, and Laporta, they're playing roughly the same amount of the time, but the amount of times that the Lions are throwing Laporta the ball is about 50% more than either of those 2 guys. So even though they're playing roughly the same, like the targets that they're getting is Sam Laporta is getting, the lion's share, quote unquote, of the opportunities. He's okay. So like, here's something that A6 and Steve-O have said in the chat. Like he's getting that because he's earned the playing time, whether that's in practice or whatever. Yeah. And he's going up against Brock Wright and James Mitchell to earn that playing time. So I don't know.
Not a high bar is what you're saying.
Right. Like, I don't know that he really had to dodge around those players in order to get onto the field. I think it was very clear when they took him that he's our tight end number one from the moment that they made that selection, right?
Yeah. The thing that impresses me is like, look at these grades of the other ones. Look at him, right? And it's not just receiving, which he is by far the best at.
Right. He's
blocking. He's also
well.
leading in the pass blocking as well, and
right.
leading in the run. Like he is literally in every category better.
Right.
And when you take away the draft year and you look at that, he's still number 3.
Right. And look at those two guys.
The overall.
Like Josh Oliver and Will Dissly, I don't believe are their number one tight ends. They're just, with the opportunities they've been given, they've taken the advantage of that time. Like there's a real argument here that through 3 weeks, Sam Laporta is just the best tight end in the NFL so far this year.
Yeah.
So like I get what the
next
chat
one,
is saying.
like snap count wise, like is Kittle, and he's right behind him.
Right. So I get what the chat's saying, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying, like, I think that the Sam Laporta that we have seen is a result of two things. A, the fact that there was effectively no one in front of him, and therefore he got onto the field quick. And B, I think that they identified him to be the kind of player they want in this particular Ben Johnson offense. And because of that, they are using him at a much higher rate than you would see a normal rookie tight end get. So taking a look at all that, what I would say is good pick, certainly producing, loving the production.
Yep.
Like him as a player. He's doing a lot. Laporta sounds like a foreign car. Well, to be fair, Rumble, welcome back, by the way. It's been good. Yeah. We've missed you. But I believe that Rumble looks at the world largely through the lens of exotic foreign cars. I think that he has his work has something to do with exotic foreign cars. Yeah. So, so I think that they did a good job of saying that guy for this offense took the guy, I think, probably above where he should have been taken because they felt he fit so well, and then gave him the opportunity to prove it. And he's doing well because through 2 weeks, the whole offense is Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
Josh Reynolds had a nice game. Gibbs is pitching in, but he's certainly not, quote unquote, the offensive weapon that Dan Campbell billed him as prior to the season. Yet, certainly could happen. Hoping it does.
As Steve says, it's not just his production; it's the versatility that he's saying that he's most impressed with. So far, he can do it all. Yeah, pass blocking, run blocking, catching the ball, run after the catch. He's been. I don't miss Hawkinson at all. Right?
No.
That's. So you know what? He not only is he doing better in every category than Hawkinson is, he's $14 million cheaper.
I mean, and that's okay. And so that's exactly it, right? So like you and I have been talking about this for like, and it's funny to say this, like literally years now, whether that's just between you and me or on this podcast, is that like there is a certain cost for certain production that you should pay for and one you should not pay for. And Sam Laporta is producing at the cost you should pay for this type of production from this position. And when you get to something like TJ Hawkinson and he's demanding 14 million, 17 million, whatever the hell it is, he prices himself out because the whole argument was from TJ Hawkinson supporters, few they may be, for keeping him in Detroit and giving him a second deal was, where are you going to find the replacement for that production? Like TJ Hawkinsons don't just grow on trees.
They grow in Iowa. They grow in fields.
Jesus Christ. I mean, Iowa is tight end you for sure. But like the answer to the question is like, where are you going to find production? It's like, it's pick 35 in the draft.
Yeah.
You know, like, so, and to be honest, and to Steve-O and Dr. Detroit's point here, I mean, I don't remember where Musgrave got taken, 3rd, 4th round, something like that. But like, it's arguable. Oh, you've got it right there.
Round, pick 43
is
the second one on the list.
Musgrave so he was right after Laporta then. 8 picks later. Okay.
The guy right after him was Michael Mayer.
Right, which the Raiders traded up to get him.
Yeah.
So, like, the argument here is when you have a TJ Hawkinson, where can you go to get the replacement? The argument is the second or third round.
Yeah. And what did we get for him trade-wise?
Right.
Not only did we save $14 million, I don't remember what the trade comp was for that. Do you?
Yeah, we
get
switched
like a third,
places
right?
in the second and third round. So we upgraded our second and third round picks.
Yeah, basically we got Sam Laporta, they got Hawkinson, and we saved $14 million.
Right. Which I think is so like if you look at it, like that trade was you ended up using one of those picks on Laporta, okay. And then the money that's Cam Sutton and someone like Marvin Jones, who you take a chance on, who is straight up not worked out thus far. But like you take a chance on a guy, and if he does work out, it's just all upside.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, a legit starter to go along with the absolute replacement for the guy doing absolutely the same thing at the same level immediately. And we made our team better in some other area. And we also got to take a lottery pick on some guy who could have been a great fourth receiver. Now he's not, but like he could have been. Right. So like I'm not saying that I would have taken Sam Laporta at 35, but I'm saying like thus far I can't argue with the fact that they were right about him. And all he needs to do to me have to retain that opinion is just continue to do this for the next 4 years.
That's it.
So that's all. Just do this for the remainder of your time.
Yeah.
And so don't get hurt. Don't get any worse.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it rolling.
Yeah. Keep this as your baseline.
Right.
So since we want to kind of talk about grades, that's one of the things that we do differently than a lot of the other podcasts and stuff.
Make it bigger.
I figure we would talk grades each week, kind of taking a look at it. So this is against the Atlanta Falcons. And one of the things we talked about earlier was how our run defense stepped up. And we'll talk Branch, but like, because he was a stud. Like he was the best. Hutch had, I think, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And he wasn't even like, I'm not sure he was the most effective or the most dominant player on the field. I think Branch might have been. His grade was a little bit lower. Branch's was 87.4. And we look at our overall defense.
Well, that's Branch's run defense grade.
True. No, that was his overall defense grade.
That is
run defense. Oh, yeah. Sorry. 87.4 was run defense. But like Hutch's overall was 91.8.
Yeah.
I would argue that Branch was just as good, if not better, like as a overall like game, because he was just in fucking everywhere. Right. But like, this is our defense, and we have some really standout players. I was super impressed with Ife Melifonwu.
So,
granted, like Hutch, Branch, they were super impressive. They were amazing, but Melifonwu came from nowhere. Like he was the guy where like, why did we keep him? And then he came out and balled out on Sunday.
So there's a discussion in the chat that Dr. Detroit's stirring the pot here a little bit with like, what if they still had Jamal Williams? I know we didn't get to see him much, but like David Montgomery is running just fine. Like I don't know that we will
hurt.
Yeah. Like
granted, you don't know, but
yeah, he's on pace to play on Thursday, I've heard, but like I don't know that we'll miss Jamal Williams once Montgomery's back. Okay, let's talk about Ife Melifonwu, because this feels like the first time I've ever seen him. Like this is his 3rd season. He was in Penei Sewell draft class.
Is this a fluke?
Well, I think this was the player they thought they were drafting in the 3rd round 2 years ago. 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, whatever. Yeah. And he's been hurt. He was playing behind other players, and because he was hurt, he couldn't get on the field, and then he would play a couple snaps, then he would get hurt. So like, but this game to me was, I think, the game that demonstrated this is who they thought they were getting. Now,
And why they didn't give up on him.
Right. And so if Mosley and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson are back at any point, Mosley certainly will be at some point, then I don't know that there's space for this kid. Now, maybe he's like an ace special teamer, but like, I think the plan was when they took him was this guy will be our Kirby Joseph, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson hybrid type of guy. Well, they didn't have Kirby yet, obviously, but like that role is what they envisioned for him, and he just never got onto the field. So this was nice to see because it was a good grade with like a legitimate snap count. He didn't just play 15 snaps.
Yeah, he was playing 50, basically almost as much as Hutch. Hutch only played 8 more snaps than him.
So I'm very happy for him. And like if he develops into a capable backup, I mean, he's like the 5th safety on the team. So, but if he can play like a little nickel, a little whatever, and add to special teams, he might make the roster like on a second contract kind of thing because his contract is up at the end of next season. So,
Melifonwu.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of stuck out to me was week 2 was not a fluke with Jerry Jacobs.
So I looked at the wide receiver matchups for this game the way that I did for the last game. Jerry Jacobs is the worst graded corner on whomever he matches up against on the entire Lions roster. So if he's matched up against their tight end, he did the worst. If he's matched up against their ex wide receiver, he did the worst. Like I like Jerry Jacobs. Like he's very fun on Twitter and he obviously has a lot of confidence. And like I'm rooting for him because he's kind of that UDFA underdog or whatever. He can't play. Like he's this year's
he's
Will
playing
Harris.
at UDFA.
Right. Like so earlier in the chat, there was some discussion like, oh, they didn't take Carter, which everybody knows that I was a fan of Jalen Carter. And I wanted them to take him at 6, not 12 or whatever. But like if let's say the Lions still traded down or whatever, and let's say instead of Jerry Jacobs, that's Christian Gonzalez, who is balling out right now for the New England Patriots. How much better does this defense look if you have a legit starting corner across from Cam Sutton?
Considering the alternative is Gibbs, who has been nothing more than average so far. I mean, he
may bust out.
Yeah.
But like in my opinion, and I'll just keep reiterating this, like heading into this last offseason, I don't know that one of my goals for the roster was to overhaul the running back position because I had a higher opinion of DeAndre Swift than I think a lot of Lions fans, and Jamal Williams did a really nice job. Now, do I think that Gibbs and Montgomery are better running backs than the 2 that we had previously? Yup. Do I want both of those guys and have to play Jerry Jacobs as my cornerback too? No.
Yeah.
That's my point. Like we have a
we trade Gibbs
hole
for Christian Gonzalez right now?
Yes. I mean, yes. Not because I dislike Gibbs. I just think that there is an issue at the cornerback
position of need.
Right. And like I like in like 3 years down the line, you can play this back and I'll probably be wrong. Because who knows what Jahmyr Gibbs will be in 2025.
Right.
But like today, right now, I think that Christian Gonzalez would help this Lions team more than what we've seen Jahmyr Gibbs do. Now, knowing that, I'll say this, and then we'll go out and play the Packers on Thursday, and he'll probably have 175 yards of total offense and be the reason why they win the game, and that'll be neat. But like when I felt like my balloon got popped on draft day was because I was like, oh, they're treating the 12th overall pick like a luxury pick when we needed a cornerback, and there was a cornerback sitting on the board that I thought would be perfect for them. So like Well, Swift has been really good in Philly so far. Swift, I mean,
Yeah.
like his first game was nothing. It literally, he ran for like 3 yards.
Well, he was the second string.
Right.
Right.
So, and then Gainwell got hurt. So then in the second week, he just goes off, and like it looks like that he'll probably be a major contributor moving forward. But like,
for how many games?
I don't know.
That's my question.
And
right?
that's
is it going to be just 3 games and he's hurt? Because that's been his MO.
If it's 15 games, I mean, but that was always the question, right? And like Jahmyr Gibbs has never had an injury history. He doesn't miss time with nagging injuries. At least he didn't in college. Yeah. And so I'm sure the Lions were like, hey, we're going to get a guy we don't have those concerns about anymore. He's more reliable.
Yeah.
Even if they are, in my opinion, similar in what the skill sets they bring to the field are.
Yeah.
So like, I thought, hey, you're going from a 75 overall player in Swift to like an 80, 85 overall player in Gibbs. Yeah, you made an upgrade. I don't know that 10 points was worth the 12th overall pick in the draft. And remember, it was an absolute fucking terrible trade that we had from down from 6 to 12. I mean, that was a horrific trade as far as value they gained.
Like point value. Yeah.
Right.
It was basically even.
Yeah. It was basically like, hey, the Arizona Cardinals were called up and like, hey, we'd love to get 6. And they're like, why don't you just give us 12? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You got it, bro. You know, and it was like, or whatever, we owed you a favor from the poker game or whatever the GMs have, you know, behind the scenes or whatever. Like, oh, I'll bet you not going on to Hard Knocks for your 6th overall pick in the draft. Cool. You know, like, you know, or whatever. But like, I like this draft class. And like, Brian Branch looks like an absolute star. And remember, I don't like safety play. Like, I think that safety play is something you can just go out and get. But they got this dude at 35 when I would have drafted him at 18.
Yeah.
He's so like great.
Stellar. He has been stellar. Right now, he's looking like the steal of the draft. He kind of feels like the sauce of this draft class, where you just like, you knew he was good, but he's like, wow. Like, he immediately comes out and he's playing Pro Bowl level, all pro level, right?
So here's my thing, right? Unfortunately, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was injured and is going to miss the majority, if not the entire year, right? I have nothing against Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I was thrilled they signed him. But he's going to come off a torn pec. That is a injury that you can come back from and be the same player. You know, I tore my bicep. My arm works just fine, you know? So everything's good. I'm assuming your chest muscles work somewhat similarly. But if it means that Brian Branch has to see less playing time because you re-signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I don't know that you can do it. I mean, Branch
and still keep Tracy Walker on the field.
Brian Branch
on the team
looks so good. He looks so good immediately.
Well, Gardner-Johnson, he signed a 1-year deal, right? So this is his only year under contract with us, I believe. Correct.
Correct.
All right. So at the end of this year, healthy or not, like, you've got Brian Branch, you got Tracy Walker still under contract, I think, for 2 more years.
1 more year.
And you got Kirby. What's that? 1 more year after this?
1 more year after this. So he's signed through 2024.
Okay. So you got Tracy Walker for 1 more year after this, and you got Kirby Joseph still on his rookie contract. I'm not sure you spend the money to keep Gardner-Johnson.
And I like him.
I do.
You know,
but like, he can't make the field.
I mean, but like, Brian Branch looks like an absolute star.
Yeah.
He just is like an absolute star. And like, okay. So I think Dr. Detroit said like he compared him to Ed Reed or something in the chat. Like, here's the comparison. Here's where I think that comparison is apt. Ed Reed was completely amazing at a position that doesn't bring an absolute ton of value to the football field, right? As a safety. But Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu were just so unbelievably good at it that they blow those projections of like value that can be added away. Like, through 3 games, Brian Branch feels like he can do something similar. Not be a Hall of Famer. Let's not go there. But like,
it's 3 games in, but like, if he keeps this going, he will be. Like, if this was his like norm.
Right. Yeah. So if he's okay, let me just say that if he goes out there and makes 11 tackles, 3 for loss, and breaks up 2 passes every game for like the whole season, he's the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah. And I think he may anyway. Like, even if he doesn't hit those exact stats, he is killing it. And honestly, I think that he'll be for sure in the Pro Bowl selection and potentially All Pro. I mean, with those
Jesse Bates from the Falcons is having a season right now that would have him in the running for like the best defensive player in the league currently. But I think that if Brian Branch continues to play well and generate stats that he's able to generate at this rate or anything close to it, I think he's got to be considered for at least the Pro Bowl. So like Joey makes a good point in the chat, like Gardner Johnson may be cheap to re-sign. It's not like he'll be able to put out tape for other teams to drool over. That's a solid point. It seems like, he's in Aaron Glenn's system. It seems like he has enjoyed his time here in Detroit. Currently, they must feel like he fits their culture. So, it seems like all the arrows would point to a re-signing. Here's my thing. Like, if you're going to play Kirby Joseph, Gardner Johnson, and Brian Branch, there has to be an odd man out somewhere. They weren't starting Tracy Walker, even though Tracy Walker is a starting quality safety, not replacement level. Like, he's a starter on other teams at safety. So, like, I don't know exactly what you do in that situation, but like, I would love it if Gardner Johnson, who I never really watched before, and in the first 2 weeks, I was like, ooh, he's fun to watch. So like, but Branch is also just like electric. I just love
vicious.
He tackles well. You
and I talked about this. I was really disappointed that he got the helmet to helmet call at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Just because like he didn't spear him. He hit him with the face mask, right? He came in and the other guy dropped his head, and so helmet to helmet. I do think that the running back put himself into a bad position, and it really wasn't his. But I understand that's the way the NFL is, and it sucks. I'm just happy it didn't cost us something, because I thought he did it. He tried to tackle right, like he didn't do anything wrong as far as that goes. But like, he just lights people up. Like, he is physical and he is abusive. Everything from that one in the preseason where the running back catches it, a little sweep outside, he just runs him over and trucks him. And I like that kind of, that's a Dan Campbell attitude kind of play. And he's a Dan Campbell kind of player as far as that goes. I've been really impressed with. I can't wait to see him light up Aaron Jones and the Packers out there today.
Yeah, I'm very happy with Brian Branch and the way that the defense played this week. If they play like that against Green Bay, I think we go into Lambeau and get a win. So like, fingers crossed that we see the same performance 2 weeks in a row.
Let's talk offense.
Sure.
Because Branch is easy to just talk about forever because he's so fun to watch.
First of all, hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
That running back that he popped off his helmet, it was Bijan Robinson. Like, prior to the game, Bijan Robinson was being discussed as potentially the best running back in football through 2 weeks. So like, that wasn't just some dude that he popped his helmet off. Like, that was the hype train that he popped his helmet off. So, I mean,
that we kept to 33 yards on 10 carries.
I just didn't understand why they didn't use him more. I just didn't understand why they didn't use him more.
Like, we stopped him like every time. But he's still probably a better place to go than Desmond Ritter's arm.
Well, that is
yeah,
that is true.
So we already talked about Laporta because he nailed it. Matt Nelson got hurt. He didn't play particularly well before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. And Dan Skipper came in and not a ton. He only had 16 snaps. he played really well. I was happy to see him come in and play like a competent player. He has not been really out of the 50s as far as grading goes through most of his playing time. So I was really happy to see that. I was really happy to see Goff played well. He had one kind of egregious, I don't know where he was throwing it, overthrow that ended up as a pick. He had a couple, I think, opportunities that he missed. But like overall, I thought he played really well. And you don't expect someone to go 389 passes without an interception. Like you don't expect perfection. You're gonna have a pick here or there. You're gonna miss a play and whatnot. So like I don't know, like, oh, he had another pick. He's terrible. That was a bad throw. He wants, he wants it back. He wants another shot at that play. Overall, I thought he played really well. St. Brown, like you said, it's the Laporta and St. Brown show as far as our offense goes. We have to go way down to 13 to see Jahmyr Gibbs, who was below Zonovan Knight, who I didn't even know was on our team.
Well, I mean, Zonovan Knight,
where did he come from?
Snaps, right? So I mean, like,
yeah.
It's not the same thing, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs this game was the best running back on the roster, and it wasn't close. But like, you're not going to give him the ball 60 times, So,
and then I still don't understand why Jason Kabinda is on.
It
wasn't pass blocking. That's the lowest score I've ever seen. 8.5. Jesus.
I know that like the offensive line will be blamed for him not getting that like 3rd and 1 conversion or 4th and 1 conversion or whatever it was. But I mean, like, I'm sorry. I mean, like, I just don't feel that NFL teams should have a fullback on the roster who does fullback things. Yeah. Now, they say he's a wonderful special teams player. What's with Ragnow? 19.7?
Yeah, his pass blocks grade was really poor.
Well, my guess would be that he was matched up with Calais Campbell. But
he'll do that to people, right? Especially if you already got a foot injury.
Yeah, he's going to have that foot injury for the rest of his career. So, I mean, like, we got to take that into consideration. But, I mean, I think the good thing about this game was that the Lions weren't forced to throw the ball. They could determine how they wanted to run their play sets because Atlanta never did anything to put them in negative down and distance. Yeah, I think the A6 makes a solid point here is that my guess is he had 9 new offensive linemen around him. We got to remember, Sewell was playing left, right? That's a change. Vitai's out. Glasgow's in. Nelson was in, got hurt, and then Skipper came in. So, I mean, like, that's not great. However, I don't know that accounts for what, like, a 51-point difference in what you normally see out of Frank Ragnow, but doesn't matter. He played well enough in the run game to make. Yeah, everybody's hurt. I mean, and it's week. Yeah. We're going into week 4. Sorsdahl. Yeah, we had Corey Sorsdahl in at some point. Like, he may have to play significant snaps this season if this thing lingers with Decker. If depending on what Vitae looks like, Matt Nelson is out. So, I mean, so there's a roster spot that you're going to get back. But this is, I mean, like, okay, kid, like, if they're going to draft you from North Dakota State in like the 5th or 6th round or whatever, and then actually get you to play, like, show us why. Because there's not going to be, you can either play in the NFL or you can't. Like, I mean, no one else cares. I mean, what the reason is, where you were drafted or whatever. Like, if you're going to get onto the field, you got to do it. So hopefully he can.
I do want to point out, because I do complain about Goff, especially being under pressure. Like, he performed really, like I said, the last 2 games I think are 2 of the best back-to-back games he's put together, even though he had an interception in each of them. But like when he was blitzed, he did really well. When he was under pressure, he did really well. his play action has always been his strength, but even the non-play action was actually really strong. And then even like with the depth, like his deeper passes, he didn't have a ton. He was 3 for 5 on over 20. And at least one of them I thought he had just a miss. I think it was St. Brown running down the left side and overthrew him by like 5 yards. But like even his long one, like I just want to like kind of point out, like he did really, really well in almost every facet of the game.
Yeah, the thing that impressed me about the way that he played against Atlanta is that he stood in the pocket and took absolute shots.
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 times and delivered good passes. I mean, I don't know that they were all catches, but like he stood there and made the play, and I was impressed with that because I would never have said that was a part of his game, was to be the guy that just took a hit. Like Matt would take a hit. I mean, Matt would stand there and just get fucking wrecked.
You watched Sunday's game, or last night's game, he took a lot. That offensive line plays like shit.
Yeah, well, they have no talent on it. So because they've been having 3rd and 5th round draft picks, like 12 of them per draft over the last, let me just check, 7 years. So I mean, it's just like, what do you guys think of Jack Campbell?
Pop back over the defense.
Yeah, let's take a look. Where's Jack?
He is 12, so 60 overall.
Why don't you click on Jack's name there real quick and then make it bigger? Oh, maybe this will be big enough. Weird. So here's the thing. Let's look at his grades there from the 3 games that he's played.
Oh, hold on. Let me get the thing off so you can. There we go.
Okay. 53, 61, 60. That's not great. Good tackler. Like seeing that. He's playing somewhere between 25 and 35 snaps a game. And he earned, significantly more playing time this last game. Whether that is a matchup reason or he just earned it, I don't know. But he got more playing time in week 3, and hopefully he continues. My problem with him is the coverage. So he had one nice pass defense, I believe, against Kansas City. But ultimately, I think that this is your run and tackle, gap thumper, gigantic linebacker that's more in the mold of like what a Brian Urlacher would do than, say, a Fred Warner from the San Francisco 49ers. But I have to agree with Steve that I'm like, it doesn't look like a first round pick. Now, there are positions that translate to the NFL immediately. And usually those are skill position players, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, pass rushers, and people that don't need to think nearly as much. And the further away from the ball that you get, the more you have to think. So he's not the furthest that you can get away, like a Brian Branch, but like he's not on the line like Aiden Hutchinson. Like the Detroit Lions plan with Aiden Hutchinson is go get the quarterback, Aiden. Thanks. Those are his marching orders every game. Like his run defense grade sucks because he's not asked to run defend. He's asked to go rush the passer. And like Campbell is going to be asked to support the run, diagnose plays, cover in man, cover in zone. He's new. He's going to take longer to bake, quote unquote, than say Brian Branch or Aiden Hutchinson or somebody like that. So like, this is why I didn't think that a linebacker was worth a first round pick. I would have taken Branch at 18. But
as it turns out, we probably could have taken anybody else, a cornerback or.
Yeah, I do believe Christian Gonzalez was off the board at that point. Maybe not. Maybe the Patriots were drafting 20 or something. But like right after the draft, we did like what we would have done pick by pick. And I'm on record being like, I would have taken Carter at 12, Carter at 6 and Branch at 18 and just been like, doop-de-doo, think.
He was 17.
happy
He was
to
taking
do
it
that.
right in front of us.
I
do wonder if he was available. Do we still take Campbell at 18 if Branch or if Gonzalez wasn't taken right in front of us? You'll never know, but I do kind of wonder if they went, well, our backup plan is Campbell, but
well, I think that if Witherspoon was on the board at 6, Witherspoon was going to be the pick.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I'm thinking that they were like, well, that was the guy that we really liked. Now we don't really have, that was our plan A,
Yeah.
He didn't, and the stupid Seahawks, the stupid butthole Seahawks decided to take him one pick ahead of us for I don't know how many times in the Lions history that the team that was literally right in front of us took the player that I wanted the most. Thank God for Jacksonville taking Trayvon.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have lived with
who
myself
do we take?
if Aiden Hutchinson was a Jacksonville Jaguar and had to play for Trent fucking Baalke. So anyways, revisionist history aside, I think Jack Campbell can become a very good NFL linebacker, but it is going to take time. And I think that where I guess my disagreement with the pick is twofold. A, positional value. B, I don't know that the Lions are in a position with the rebuild and where that the team is going that they can be like, well, we're going to take a player that's going to take a year or two to become good. I don't know that I know they were given long contracts when Sheila brought them in, but they fired Aubrey Pleasant because the team wasn't where they thought it would be, right? And I think that he fired Aubrey Pleasant because he didn't want to fire Aaron Glenn, and it just so happened to be that then, okay, we're going to win 8 of the next 10, but also you have to keep showing progress, right? And it helps if the progress that you're showing is you have young players, Branch, Sewell, Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, that come in and make a difference right away. So when you draft a guy that has to mature and grow, and I think that's probably why they didn't take quarterbacks early with some of these picks, is that they need to demonstrate progress. And once they've built up enough capital to indicate that they have made that happen, then they can use that to be like, now we want to go to ownership and say we need a quarterback. So
let's take a quick peek at where the Lions stand as a team overall. Overall, we are tied with the Bills for the 6th best overall score, 79.9, which is pretty damn good. Offensively, we have the second. Granted, Miami just put up 70. It's going to be tough to knock that one out. But ironically, the 0-3 Vikings are the second highest graded offense.
Well, it's not like they
letting them down.
Right. Yeah. This is the laziest cop-out in sports, especially football. It's not the defense. It's not the offense's fault. It's the defense. Because you gave up more points than you scored. Yeah. All right. That's every game, every time. That argument can be used in every game that's ever been played in sports history. Is that it's the defense's fault for giving up more points than the offense scored. Now, that's not what that grade represents. That grade represents how well they have done at implementing their game plan. But this is the exact opposite of last year.
Yeah.
This is really who they were last year. And it was circumstance and the ball bouncing their way.
Yep. Passing, we're at number 3. Pass blocking, we're at number 6. I love the fact that we're so highly graded in basically every category. That means until we get to our run game, which we have to scroll a ways for, we have the 27th best run game after drafting a running back in the first round at number 12. So that's a little bit disappointing. it's I'm gonna have to expand the screen a little bit. And I might have already told you, Drew. So if I did, play dumb. What do you think?
Check.
Our defensive grade is, we're kind of middle of the pack.
That's where they needed to. This is the progress that we said they needed to be.
We were 32 last year.
Really good offense, middle of the pack defense. We're going places, right?
Yep. So with that, where do you think we are on a scale of 1 to 32 on our ability to tackle?
So when you asked me this question, I was thinking like, well, Brian Branch looks like a goddamn miracle. And he just had 11 tackles to lead the team. So I'm going to say 3.
Right. And I did tell you at the time that it wasn't 1 or 2 because they were San Francisco and Dallas at 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of curious if anybody else in the chat who knows what that answer is.
Where does the Detroit Lions rank in tackling grade in PFF through 3 weeks?
All right, let's expand it and sort by tackling. It's the Patriots and the Niners, but we got to scroll a ways. 26, and actually, that's interesting
because not all the games have been played yet, Mike. There were 2 games, 4 teams that played yesterday.
But anyway, but I looked earlier today. Weird, but unless it was, did I just look at the week? Maybe. Anyway, I thought it was 32. I must have been looking at just the week. They were just that game. But either way, it's bad. Tackling is not our strong suit. Now, granted, Denver, ouch. That's rough. And maybe that's why they gave up 70 points. I'm not sure.
It didn't help.
But yeah, so like overall, I think I love the fact that we are essentially top 5 in almost every category. On offense, at least. On defense, I'm happy with 17 after being basically 32, 31 at the end of last year.
Tackling's got to get better. That's all I got to say. Like, it's just a fundamental of football.
Yeah.
It's like the best description of tackling I've ever heard is hug him to the ground. And watch Brian Branch tackle some dude and tell me that's not exactly what he does. And why that can't happen every play by any player is beyond me. You look at Hutch tackle some dudes, some of these running backs, and it looks like a female lion taking down a fucking gazelle. I mean, it's just like he like flips them around like they got hit by trucks. And I'm just like, Alex Anzalone can't wrap up a dude, like Cam Sutton can't get his arms around some dude's waist. I mean, like, just commit to it. I don't understand it. The like big hit or like shoulder first tackling, it just makes me want to vomit. So,
especially when they bounce off and keep going.
Yeah, that's the worst. And even Branch hit Tyler Algier on one play this last game and literally just bounced off the dude like he was Christian Okoye in Tecmo Super Bowl. And like Algier just keeps going. And I was just like, ooh. That was a bummer. Okay, first of all, I'm never going to stop Alex Anzalone's slander. The dude is just straight up not worth it.
And
he's just straight up not worth it.
This is tackling. This is his tackling grade of 28.6. It's not slander when it's right.
This is Alex Anzalone his whole career. But the Lions like him because they clearly do, because they re-signed him. They gave him a 3-year deal. But he's just not very good.
He had 2 good years tackling, but like the last 4, not good.
So you expected 0 then? Because how could this be better than what you could have possibly like?
Well, he expected 5.95.
Okay, so like,
or 0.595, I guess.
That is like a 5.95 is like picking up an offensive player and running for them down the field. You know, it's just gross. Like, I can't believe that is slander. But like, I can't believe that there are coaches or people out in this world that is like Alex Anzalone is a completely fine NFL linebacker who does good things. I just don't get it. I mean, like, he's completely replaceable.
His overall grade A6 is 59.5. So let's see where that puts him on the linebacker charts.
It's not good.
Let me scroll. Let me go to the second page of 50. So 59.5, 59.5. Bam! 89.
Hooray. Let's just do this math real quick. 32 NFL teams. If nickel's the base, there's 64 linebackers that play in the NFL. If you want to say every team in the NFL plays 3 down linebackers as a base, that's 96. He is barely
almost
playable.
To the very end of yeah. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been terrible, but he's been 59.5 is essentially just below it's replacement player grades.
First of all, you spend the 18th pick on a linebacker. Okay. Signing Anzalone to a 3-year, even if it is $6 million a year deal or whatever it is, almost as bad for that production. It's just abysmal. It was a bad.
I mean, it's early, right? It's game 3. Hopefully he can pick it back up.
To what?
But 65, to be honest, like
70?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see him in the 65 to 70 range. It's going to take a bit to pull that up.
I mean, it's still not worth it. It's just not as bad.
Yeah. A couple other quick stats. ESPN has us as 8 in their power rankings, so we broke into the top 10. Actually, we were in the top 10 last time. We were at 8. So that's cool. And there was a couple interesting ones here. On the rushing side, Drew, that I was talking to you about.
You say a lot of stuff, Mike. It's hard to keep it all straight.
So the fastest ball. So Next Gen Stats has some really cool shit. For the season, and this is individual plays, right? So how fast did someone go on a particular play? And Miami has the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, 4, and 5 spots. And it's not all the same person. It's not all just Tyreek Hill. He's 2 of them, but it changed 2 of them. Raheem Mostert's another one. Jalen Waddle's down here at 12. I mean, they are clearly building with speed. And considering what their offensive grades look like, it's working. Hopefully, this is the kind of shit that JMO can do for us. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And the other one I thought was super interesting was Marvin Mims had a 99-yard kickoff return, and he ran a total of 126.3 yards during that return.
Marvin Mims has something like 9 catches, and 70 of them are like 20, or I'm sorry, 7 of them are like 20 plus yards. I mean,
he's the guy that gets the broken field play, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, he looks like a very fine addition to the. I wish that he was on the Lions, to be honest. I mean, the Marvin Jones thing just continues to just completely hornswoggle me. I just don't understand it. So, yeah, all right, let's talk about Green Bay.
What do you think? It's a short week. They came back from what could have been a loss until the opposing team starting quarterback went down and never did anything offensively again. Came back, 18 unanswered points, wins the game. We have a really strong showing the entire game against Atlanta, and now we're playing in our first divisional game. I think it's going to be a win, even though it's in Green Bay. I really want to see Hutch and our defensive line put the pressure on Jordan Love that we put on Desmond Ridder. Green Bay is a good running team. I'd love to see us stop them like we stopped Bijan Robinson. Those are the big things that I want to see. I think our offense can handle it. They're not super explosive, but they are relatively steady. And as long as St. Brown and Laporta stay healthy, I think that we've got we can put up enough points to win.
So I'm looking at the Packers injury report from today. Bakhtiari and Elgton Jenkins, Jesus Christ. Elgton Jenkins was
I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing near you.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
We're both did not practice this today with knee injuries. If they don't go, I think that the Lions have a real chance to win this game by putting pressure on Jordan Love. The challenge, I think, that is different about the Packers than it was for the Falcons is that the Packers defense is really good. And if they're just cooking, I think that it can stymie the offense, especially if Montgomery doesn't go. I mean, I'm worried about that a little bit, especially with our offensive line being banged up and the way it has been. What do you guys think about Ben Johnson's play calling? It's been good. It's been really – I don't know that I have much more to say about it. I'm not intelligent enough to know what he's doing specifically, but I like the design of some of their offensive plays. Like it seems like just a little bit more creative than basic. And he seems to run a lot of the same concepts out of different looks. And I think that creates confusion. And I think that the Lions use pre-snap motion about as much as anybody in the NFL, which I think is absolutely essential in the modern NFL. You have to use pre-snap motion to determine what defense the defense is in, how they're matching up, where your matchup is, getting guys into the right matchup, and then being able to exploit weaknesses. And he believes in that. And so I've been really happy with Ben Johnson's play calling so far.
Yeah, same. I think he's doing a really good job of making sure his receivers get open and separation through scheming and through like play design.
So it's at Lambeau. So I think that that's an advantage for the Packers. And I think that Detroit is best when it has a lead, like it did in the Atlanta game, because now they can tailor what they're doing to what needs to happen the rest of the game, as opposed to reacting the rest of the game, which I think they're much worse at. And well, they were without Montgomery and half their offensive line is hurt. So I mean, like, it's just not going to be good right now. I mean, and to be honest, if we're relying on the running game, welcome to the NFL pre-collective bargaining agreement, because you have to throw the ball. Like, to be honest, like, I like those two guys, but you should give Sam Laporta and St. Brown 12 or 13 targets a game until proven otherwise. And that's your chain moving. Those are the running plays, is throwing the ball to those guys, to be honest. So, like, the Lions need to get points on the board. They need to get the points on the board first, and they need to be able to dictate the game to the Green Bay Packers. And then this shit that they did last week with the 10 penalties or whatever for 100+ yards can't happen. Can't turn the ball over. They need to play mistake-free football. And they need to hope that Jordan Love is not an actual NFL quarterback. So, and he's looked like he is, and he's looked like he isn't so far this year. So, like, you need isn't to show up on the field on Thursday. Now, I think that the Lions having to play on 4 days rest is helping them more than it's helping Green Bay, because I don't like I think the odds shift more in their favor if they get another 3 days rest and they get more players back that are able to effectively go. So if both teams are banged up like they are right now, I think that favors the Lions.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can get there, even if like Decker's not back. I think we're just better than them, so we just have to play like it, and that's easier said than done sometimes. The Lions historically have tended to play down to their opponents when they were better than them, but history does not predict the future necessarily, especially in sports. Otherwise, the Chicago Cubs would still not have a World Series. And because they did win a World Series, I have hope that the Lions can win a Super Bowl. So, I think we'll be fine. I think we're just all around more talented than them. Their defense is better than ours. Theirs is, I believe they have the 13th best, highest graded defense, overall defensive grade from PFF. So they're not elite, best in the league, but they are better than ours. So the question is, can our offense be also better than theirs? And I think the answer is probably going to be yes. But it'll be a fun game to watch.
I think for the first time in my lifetime, they're better at quarterback than the Green Bay Packers. And
also true.
If people who are supportive of Jared Goff, he needs to outplay Jordan Love. Period. No excuses. He just needs to be better than Jordan Love.
Yep.
I don't know that it needs a ton of explanation. Can it happen? Hopefully. He's having his best season since the Super Bowl season so far, per grade. Yeah. So go out there and beat this kid. I mean, just go beat him.
Show him what a 8-year veteran looks like. Right.
I mean, if not now, when? So, and if whoever wins this game takes control of the NFC North, I mean, both the Bears and Vikings look like they're not even going to challenge for it. And you need to get the tiebreaker, So go do that and then have one more game at your place later in the season. Because I think that they play the Packers this week. There's someone else next week, and then they play the Packers again.
I thought we played them toward the end of the season.
Well, no, it goes Minnesota, Dallas, Minnesota. But there's at least 2 teams in the division. Like, we play them every other game on the schedule.
Let me take a quick peek. You might be right.
It wouldn't be the first time.
We play week 4, and then we play week 12.
Okay.
There are Thanksgiving game.
Oh, okay. That's right. Oh, someone else said I think it was Joey in the chat was like, talk about Jawan Taylor getting penalized. Okay, he got penalized. So I don't care.
Taylor, I don't even remember.
He's the Chiefs right tackle that Aiden got matched up on.
Yeah. At the end of the game, and then
lined up as a slot receiver like 21 times. So
right, he just needs a different number on his back. That's all, and it's fine.
It was A6. My bad. A6. But like, I don't care. I mean, like, there seems to be either a alignment or early jumping epidemic for offensive linemen so far this year. Like in the Jacksonville game, I think it was that their right tackle was literally a step into his drop before the ball was snapped, and it didn't get flagged for a false start. So like either the refs are just letting that go and players are pushing the boundary of what they can get away with, which they always do for everything.
Yeah, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know if they're not going to call it, it's not cheating. I mean, like, if he lines up as a slot receiver 21 times and they don't flag him for it, is it cheating? You didn't penalize them for doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I
That's
get
a Chris Draper
it.
quote, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Detroit Red Wings.
Well, I think it's been around longer than Draper.
Well, probably. Like he said that a lot on faceoffs. He was a really good faceoff man, and he would start early and people would complain, and he's like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, see, I've always hated that mentality. So, I don't remember what the point was. So,
yeah, but yeah, they started calling them. Hopefully, they'll keep it. I mean, the offense has enough extra, like they just make it easier on the offense already.
Yeah, the NFL is invested in lots of
harder for a defense, right?
I mean, so here's my problem with it. The Lions won the game. Don't bitch about it. Fucking won.
Yeah. We knew what was going to happen by the play, every single play.
He did all that, and you still
felt like, okay, you can go call it now. Like, we've got, 4 quarters, 3 quarters, and like 3 quarters of the fourth quarter of like knowing what's going to happen based on what this guy's doing. Now you can call it. It'll be okay. And then that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, I just I think Lions fans, and I'm not saying that A6 is doing this, but I've seen similar sentiments on other Lions media sites. And like, I think that this fan base is like, its default setting is things are unfair for the Lions, right? I've had to live with things being unfair for the Lions however long I've been a fan. So here's another example of things being unfair. The difference is that you won the game. A lot of the Calvin Johnson rule, you lost that game. Go and complain about it. That's fine. You won this one. Just be a good winner and just be quiet and accept the win. I mean, you overcame them cheating to win, right? Don't put that shit out on social media. A6 makes a fine point. Like, it is kind of funny that the Chiefs are now being flagged on their $20 million a year tackle that they brought in primarily because he does this.
And but if you read any of their social media comments, it is just nonstop bitching and whining about it too. I'm like, just tell him not to break the rules. It's not hard. Nobody else, but like, it's really easy to not do it.
They're 2-1 as well. Like, you're winning. Shut up. I don't like complaints when you win.
Yeah.
Like, you achieve the thing that everyone is out there trying to do. Okay. Don't complain about it. Complain of nothing. The refs, the ball bouncing a certain way, whatever it is. So Taylor Swift being in the stands, I don't care. Just be grateful for the W. That's what you're here for. Let's move forward.
Yeah. I'm going to share one funny thing because it cracks me up, and it's a division rival. This
just
one
$100,000 thing
made me laugh. Flex this game to Wednesday at 3 a.m. Nobody's going to watch. Like, who wants to watch this mess? Both of those teams got beat by, one got beat by 50. One got beat by
39.
30-something?
Yeah. 42-3, wasn't it? 41-3?
I don't remember. It was bad, whatever it was. So, yes, they should flex that game to Wednesday at 3 a.m. In fact, that should be the game over in Europe. To say, you know what? Nobody wants to wake up for that shit.
It is the battle for Caleb Williams. A6 is right.
That's true.
The Caleb Williams Bowl. No one knew it would be in week 4.
So, all right. Well, we've gone way long, but it was a lot of fun. We'll be back next Tuesday to talk about our victory over the Packers, hopefully. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Helps us on YouTube get more people to join.
You're up to 83.
We are up to 83. Are we really? I haven't even looked.
I looked this morning. I think.
Do we have any shout outs?
Joey, I don't know. Joey said something about us doing a live stream. I think that if we get to 100 subscribers, we should pick a game whenever that is and live stream it for everybody.
Let's start recruiting, boys. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you tell me Kathy doesn't know 17 people? Come on.
I mean, I would assume so. I don't see. They must not have shared their names. I don't see them. I see Rick Prather. And Richard. So did we do? No, we didn't. Actually, we got a shout out to Richard Zoharansky. He was he subscribed. Must have been right after Rick did, but he was not on the shout out list. Zoharansky. So
we'll
awesome.
do that at the start.
Thank you, Richard. Oh yeah, right there. Look at that. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Bam! Welcome new subscribers.
Woo. So
yeah, if you've got 17 friends, that's all we need to get to triple digits, and we'll do a live stream.
So I don't have 17 friends. I got a accounting class at Valley. Maybe I can get those 20-year-olds to subscribe. So
I'm thinking we should do merch. I like our logo with bread gnomes there, and we should just do like a polo or something, or a T-shirt with
live streaming is free, so I think we should do that. So
that's true. Yeah.
It's building the pride, not buying the pride. So
did I say buying the pride?
No, you didn't. I was just kidding around. So
gotcha.
All right, that's it for us this week. We ran an extra hour, so
fun.
Money's worth.
It was a fun hour.
It was a great hour. Great additional hour.
It's the best. All right, we'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. Peace.